Thank you so much, Dustin, for joining us here at the Dwellynn Show. I'm your host, Oladantes. I'm super, super excited to connect with you, Dustin. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm excited, Ola. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, let's just jump right into it. So Dustin, I've read so much about you. I've been in your website, Master Passive Income. You're doing an amazing job. Why did you get into real estate?
So I got into real estate because I realized that I hated working for other people. So I've always been entrepreneurial minded. When I was like 12, I had a paper route where I was delivering newspapers and making money. And, if I didn't do it, it's basically a small, tiny business as a little kid. Did that. Then I've had many, many businesses, a skateboard manufacturing business, a graphic and website design company. I even had a retail establishment that I built from the ground up. Sold that. I've had many different businesses. And in the meantime, being entrepreneurial, I was thinking there's got to be a way that I can make money and not work, like have it keep working. And so I naturally thought, being entrepreneurial, let's start a business and have that business have employees. The employees work and I make money. Now I did that. That's with my retail business that I had. But there's so much work, so much overhead, like paying employees, managing employees. There's so many things that it was daunting, like 14-hour days working. It was horrible. Now, thinking about being an entrepreneur, I went into real estate. I started buying real estate. I bought one property and then bought another. And the big reason why is because I saw you can get passive income. You buy the property once and you keep renting it out and you make money. And it started with me, just like with you. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And just the idea that money can keep coming in without working is just amazing. And so I bought the first property and it was one of the easiest things to do. Now I did it all wrong because I wasn't learning from anybody, but through the school hard knocks over, 12 years now, I built up a good sized business now where I literally don't have to have a job. I travel 6 weeks out of the year, or like a 6-week trip each year. Like 2 years ago, we went to Japan for 6 weeks. This last year, 2018, we went to Europe for 6 weeks, we went through 11 different countries. This year, we're probably going to go to Washington, D.C. and check out you live in Maryland, so we're going to visit and see all the historical stuff. So basically, I got into real estate because I didn't want to work for somebody else. And my goal was to quit my job. And I thought passive income, if I buy 10 properties, that should hopefully be around, $2,000, $2,500. If I buy 20 properties, that'd be about $5,000 cash in my pocket. And so going that route, I could keep going. But so that's me. As I said, I want to not work for somebody else. I want to quit my job and never work again.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you so much for that great intro. And when I hear I quit my job, I'm like, oh my God. And I guess some of our Dwell listeners are thinking, oh my God, he quit his job and he doesn't have to work. So is it truly, the promised land? Like when you quit your job, are you just like on the beach somewhere every day? Like, are you not working out? I mean, what does that actually feel like?
That's an amazing question because two different trains of thought. Number one, the type of person I am, being entrepreneurial, being excited and wanting to do things. Like I have to work. I not work for somebody else, but I have to be doing something. I just love being active, love doing things. So I exercise today I woke up, went to the gym for a couple hours, came home, and usually I just drink coffee, hang out with the family. My wife homeschools, she does all the hard work. So my life is so simple now. So if I wasn't driven, if I didn't want to keep building a business, I would not have started Master Passive Income. I started Master Passive Income, my blog and podcast and my books that I've written and my courses. I did all that because I had so much energy. And with real estate, I don't have to do anything. Like I literally work an hour a month, not just an hour a week or a day, a month. And that's just getting the property statement the statement from my property manager, verifying the expenses, verifying the income. And in doing that, I just work 1 hour and the rest of the time I can do whatever I want. And so if I was a big gamer, which I like playing video games, but not that much, because like you, Ola, I have responsibilities. I have a wife and I have a kid, and just that stuff kind of goes to the wayside. But so I literally, well, here's an example. You said, live on the beach. If I want to live on the beach, I absolutely could. So I used to live in California. I started investing when I lived in California back 10, 12 years ago. Then fast forward to now, both my mom mom and dad, stepdad have passed away, and my wife's from Arizona. So we've moved to Phoenix, Arizona to be closer to them. And I didn't need a job. I didn't need to buy a house because I already had a rental property there. So I said, hey, a tenant's moving out. Let's just go literally pick up and move and live in there. And so it's because we want to be close to my in-laws, and they're 74, 75. And once you hit 80 years old, you stop moving around very much. So Lord willing, they'll be around for a while, but we wanted to be here so my kids we have 4 kids, can be with them. And so if and when we ever want to move to Hawaii, absolutely. We can just pick up and move because we don't need a job. But number 2, I buy investment properties that make money that I could just buy wherever I want.
Wow, isn't that just great? I mean, just like having that opportunity to just say, hey, we can just kind of, just move, right? Some people are like tied to a city because of their jobs or whatever. And then just being a real estate entrepreneur, real estate investor gives you that ability just to, up and leave if you wanted to, right? So I think that's amazing. So let's go back. You said you were in California, then you started investing. What was that first property like? And you did mention that you didn't do it the right way. So just kind of walk us through, how did you find it and how did you fund it? And what was the story afterwards?
So I started buying in 2006, and I bought my first property in California and realized I can't make any money there. It was ridiculous. Prices are really, really high. Rents are relatively low. And so I actually went from there, buying the first property. I started, there's other places in the country that I could probably buy that's cheaper prices. And so I was looking everywhere. I was looking through Craigslist, I was looking through Zillow, I was looking through all these different places. And funny enough, I found on eBay, somebody was selling a duplex, and the duplex they were selling for was like $50,000 for a duplex in Ohio. And I thought, $50,000 for a duplex, that sounds great, because California, you'd be paying $300,000 for those. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to fly out there, check out the area, and see if I want to buy the property. Well, it turns out $60,000 for that duplex was way over expensive. Like, that was just crazy amount of money. In Ohio, where I was buying, I bought my first property, and get this, and this is what we didn't have any money when we started. Like, we barely had my job. My wife moved from Arizona to Phoenix. She didn't have any income. Anyways, we didn't have any money other than we got married. We got a little bit of wedding presents and a little bit of her savings, my savings. With $17,000, I bought our first property cash. Like, no, it's not a down payment. Like, all in $70,000. I own it free and clear. Now, that property, I still own it. It rents for $550 a month. So in 3 years, I have all of my money back. Now, the downside is, with a lower priced homes, there's a lot of issues that come with them. They're older homes, it's a lot of maintenance, the type of clientele that you have, there's a lot of issues there. So there's a lot of things I had to navigate that I didn't know beforehand. Like, okay, hey, the person, the last 2 months, they couldn't pay their rent, and they kept saying their son got, arrested. Now, their car broke down. And that was a big lesson, was, hey, treat it like a business, because if you just, let people slide month after month, you're just losing money. And it's sad. Things happen to people, but then also people lie too. I mean, I've been lied to many, many times. So I had to put my business like a business and run it like a business. Rent is due on the 1st. It's late after the 3rd, or some areas the 5th. And if they don't pay, then it's a 3-day notice. After that 3-day notice, we start the eviction process. That's just sadly the way it's going to be. And if they want to stay on the property, they have to pay for everything in the past. So that was the way I got started. Now, the big thing was, my wife, she was very hesitant. Like, her parents, God bless them, they're fantastic. Her dad's a retired school teacher, and her mom's a stay-at-home mom. So very risk averse. Like, they hated risk. And they're like, you're going to buy a property in another state? What, are you crazy? And I was like, I got to do it. So she was very, I wouldn't say wholeheartedly against it, but I was like, dragging her along. Like, let's go, let's do this. Praise the Lord. We bought one property, and then the next, I refinanced, pulled the cash out, bought another property. And I did that a few times, but then the cash flow was so good, and I was saving every single penny of my money that I made from my job, that I could, and made from my properties, to buy more properties, because I saw, man, that first check where I got like $350 from my first property. I was like, I didn't do anything, and I got $350. Like, I got to get more of these. And I just kept buying them. Honestly, within 6 years, I want to say it was like 19 properties, and majority of them were free and clear. And so that was all cash coming in. And then from there, I realized I could quit my job now. And I was hesitant, because leaving your W-2 job is rather hard to do. So it took me another 2 years to actually pull the trigger. But once I quit my job, it's the dream life. I mean, if everybody could get to the point where they don't need a job, they're going to be loving it. It's absolutely amazing. Do what you want whenever you want and have plenty of money coming in. It's just, it's brilliant.
So if I'm listening to this and I'm like, oh my goodness, like my head is turning, like I want to be Dustin, right? I want to do the same thing that he did. What would you tell that person?
So I have a number of coaching students that I walk through, and some have money and some don't have money. Where I came from is I basically share, this is what I did, and this is how I would start the ball rolling of passive income as fast as possible. Number one, save money. You don't save money, you're really not an investor. Investors know how to manage their money. They don't just spend it willy-nilly. I still have my 2007 Honda Odyssey that I bought before we had all these properties, because I love traveling. I spend my money on traveling, and my car gets me from point A to point B. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need it. Even though I have plenty of money, I could buy a brand new car cash. I was like, it does fine. You know, I have 4 kids, and so where they have bicycles, the handlebars are scrape the side of a brand new car. So why would I buy a new car and worry about it? All that to say, the way I suggest with little to no money is looking out of state. Like if you live in California, you have very little money, or New York or Florida, places where the prices are really, really high. You know, on the coastlands, their prices are really, really high. So Midwest is a great place to look. Everything from Tennessee to Ohio to Pittsburgh, you know, all these different Midwest areas are really, really good for lower priced homes, but good sized rents where you're going to be making $250 to $300 a month in passive income. And so I would say the biggest thing, and a lot of my students, I have to help them because I guess I specialize in going out of state, basically going someplace that you can't even drive to, like you won't even go to. Like I won't fly to see my properties. Out of the 35 plus properties that I own, I think I've only seen 2. So all of the other ones, I bought them without even looking at them. So getting over the fear of, number one, buying your first property, that's hard. The second thing is, you know what, my area might not be the best. Let me look for another area that could possibly be a great investment, and get property managers to run the business. Get other people to do the work. That's why I only work 1 hour a month, is because I have other people doing the work. And so what I suggest, if you're like me, when I started, very, very little money, little to no money, is I would start saving, cut my expenses so that I don't have, you know, outlandish expenses, but start saving, because it's so much easier to buy a property when you have money than when you don't. It's a lot of work when you don't have money. So save money, cut expenses, increase your income, and then buy a smaller property, rather inexpensive property that gives you passive income quickly. Like you want to get $250 coming in your pocket every single month as fast as possible. Then that gets that snowball rolling, where over time you buy one year, buy another one another year, the next year after that you buy 2, and then you buy 2 more, then you buy 3. The snowball just gets bigger and bigger and gets where it's almost like you can't stop money coming in. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like I think it was David Green, the author of like Long Distance Investing, I think it's called. Yeah, he says the same thing, because for some of our listeners, they might be thinking, well, I can't even imagine not seeing, like, you know, any of my properties, right? So, and obviously for you, like you said, you've only seen like a couple of them. So if there's somebody now that is thinking, okay, I'm ready to go, right? I've got some cash, I want to buy, or I want to invest out of state. One first question, how do you get a good property manager? Because that's kind of like, you know, what would make or break you, right? How do you get a good property manager? And how do you make sure that, you know, you can scale this business and you can be successful in this approach?
That's an amazing question, because a lot of people think, I got to find the right property and I got to make sure I can make money on it. Those are great things to think about, but that's the easy part. The easy part is finding the property. Actually, it's even easier just to buy the property. Anybody can buy a property, but to do a business, a successful real estate business well, and make it successful, you really need a business setup behind it. And that's what I really didn't do from the beginning. I just said, oh, you know, I found a property manager because I knew I needed somebody to do it. So I just said, let's just pick somebody that said they did it. Turns out it was a bad idea. I should have done a lot more work. Anyways, there are a lot of things that I learned with working with bad property managers on how to find good property managers, everything from what types of questions to ask, what type of services they should or should not offer, what they should charge for and what they shouldn't charge for. There's so many things that I had to learn the hard way. So on my I have a couple books and I have my articles and I have my podcast, but I explain, actually, I'll give you a specific one. So I have an article on my blog that gives 22 questions that you need to ask your property manager. Now, the biggest thing is, now knowing the questions, that's number one, but number two is actually interviewing your property manager. Like, they're an employee, even though you don't give them a W-2, like they're not actually on your payroll, but they are your employee. You are their customer. They need to take care of you. And what I strongly encourage is finding somebody that you, number one, enjoy. Not enjoy is a hard word to say, or it's a well-rounded word. You don't mind talking to on the phone, like somebody that you like, I don't want to, this is how I don't want to be. Oh, I got to talk to this guy again. Oh, hello. I don't want to be like that. I want to work with people. Life's short. I only want to talk with and work with people that I like talking to and working with. And so find somebody, number one, that you can work well with. Find somebody that's number two, that you can trust. You want to be able to trust them. And another one, you want to be able to have somebody that you can communicate well with. I'll give you an example. I've had property managers that they take weeks to get back to you. That's uncalled for. Like, absolutely, in my world, that's horrible. At most, 24 hours is the very most that it should take for you to get back to me on my property. If it takes longer than that, you're fired. I don't care how good you are. When I don't know what's going on my property, my brain starts going crazy and I'm worried. I pay you to worry. I don't pay you to have me worry. And so finding a good property manager. So another one is, like I said, trustworthiness, that when you talk to them, you feel like they are trustworthy. Now, if you have any red flag or like yellow flags that pop up in your mind, there's a quote that a good friend of mine said. He said, just about every single yellow light, or I actually say it more specifically, if you think you're driving and you see a red, yellow, and green light, well, every yellow light turns to red. And if you see a red flag or a yellow flag that's going off in your mind about a property manager or somebody you're working with, that will probably turn to red. And here's a big thing. So when I'm finding property managers, I'm interviewing 2 or 3 at one time. Like, I'm calling, this one, I'm calling this one, and I'm literally asking all these questions and trying to interview them, see if they're going to be a good fit. Well, if I call them and they don't have my business yet, and they treat me like, really poorly, or they don't call me back, or their communication skills are horrible before they have my business, imagine how bad it's going to be when they have your business. So all that to say, finding a good property manager is the number one thing you must do. Now, like I said, finding the property is the easiest. Buying a property is the easiest thing. The harder thing is actually making sure that you have a business that is going to run without you. That's the hard part. So finding a property manager is absolutely key.
Awesome. Before we jump into the quick round, I've got another question as well that you also asked me on your podcast. I gotta ask that. So if you were to, go back in time and you were to do this all over again with everything what would you do differently, or how would you go about starting your journey?
That's a fantastic question. So what I learned after doing this for so long is I've lost tens of thousands of dollars doing my business wrong, not knowing when to evict, not, not running my business like a business. And in losing tens of thousands of dollars, I realized what I forewent. Okay, so I'm thinking I have $17,000. That's how much I bought the property for. I have $17,000. I don't want to spend $1,000 on training or online courses or a mentor, or a coach. I don't want to spend that money because I don't have very much money. Well, what I realize now is if I would have forced myself to pay $1,000, $2,000, or work with you, Ola, or, do some coaching where I have some real estate, somebody that does real estate, that knows the business, that's done it before. Basically, if there's a map, I'm going from, like Washington, DC down to Florida for Disneyland. I want to follow a map that somebody's already been there. I might end up in California, which is not where I want to be. I want to be in Washington, or Disney World. I want to be in Disney World as opposed to. So all that to say, what I should have done is, and this is what I would go back and tell myself, spend a little bit of money to learn what you're going to do, because you're going to lose tens of thousands. If I look back, I cringe at thinking how much, at least $20 or $30,000 in lost revenue. Number one, expenses that were not necessary. I didn't need them. Not evicting people, having over expenses. At least $30,000 in my 12 years of experience, if not more. I'm trying to have a mental roadblock. I don't want to think about it because I've already learned those lessons. I know what didn't work. Now I know what does work. So I go with what does work, and that's what I teach all my students. But yeah, getting coaching and getting education is by far, it's going to save you so much money in the long run.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. That's obviously what I tell folks who reach out to me as well all the time. Like you might as well spend that money in the front end.
Mm-hmm.
And even, athletes, stars, comedians, celebrities have coaches, right? So, and when we stop schooling or university, why do we stop having teachers or, folks to guide us through a path that they've already been on, right? So that's absolutely fantastic. So we definitely dwelling into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick questions, quick answers. You ready, sir?
Yeah, I am.
All right, let's do it. So first question, what would you say is the unique thing about Dustin? What is that one thing that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
Well, a big one would be number one. I love reading the Bible. I read the Bible every day. I read the Bible with my kids, and so I love having a God that loves me and Lord Jesus Christ. So that's what is a big separation for me. But for me personally, like inherently inside of me, could be a separation is probably two things. Number one, I'm very driven. Like if hopefully it comes across in the podcast and the video that like I'm very passionate and I love real estate. I love this. And so I keep going and I keep running as fast as I can. So that's one, is I'm very, very driven. But at the same time, I try to keep as focused as I can. And when we were talking earlier and you mentioned going after a shiny object, I force myself as best I can, don't go after a shiny object. Like I'm investing in real estate. Oh, this might be a good flip. Well, I'm not a flipper, so don't do that. Even though I can make a lot of money, don't do that. Go back this way. And so I try to be as focused as possible. So I try to be very, very diligent and keep going as fast as I can.
Yeah, and it's also that time, sometimes we have the spirit of discernment from God, but we just blank it out. It's funny, because like now in my church, we actually fast 21 days in the beginning of the year. So we're on a fast right now. And,
awesome.
As you start to pray, sometimes you can hear from God that, don't do this, but you're like, I could make so much money. So, that's probably not the Holy Spirit telling me. That's just, my other brain, so
Exactly.
I'm really glad that you brought that up as a differentiating factor. I mean, a lot of us, in the game sometimes want to shy away from talking about, faith and God, but, that's definitely for me, as well as obviously you just mentioned to me, a factor that really helps me, in this game. So next question, what was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing that you picked up from that book?
So the last book that I read, so because of my, I guess, real estate experience, everything I've learned, I don't learn much about real estate anymore because I've done a ton. Plus, I'm constantly grabbing as much as I can from like articles or blogs. And so I haven't read a real estate book in a long time because I have a decent understanding. But what I've been doing is I really love learning about personality and how to help people, how to influence people. So How to Win Friends and Influence People is written by Dale Carnegie many years ago. Fantastic book. And here's the biggest point that a takeaway that I would give is to get what you want. Like, let's say your goal is to get rental properties, or your goal is to make money. If that's your goal should be to help people, as many people as you can, in order to make money. Now, the money is the secondary. The first thing is to help people. And so with my rental properties, all my rental properties, I give really good quality housing for people to live in at a good price. I keep it low so they don't want to move. And I also keep it updated so it's taken care of for them. But I'm taking care of them and they take care of me in turn. So How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is fantastic. I absolutely, in reading that, I read it many times. So in reading that again, is really helping me to realize always put other people first.
Yeah, fantastic book. That's always a big one on the show. So final question, you've got your rental properties, you've obviously got your beautiful wife and your amazing 4 kids. You've got the business, you got the coaching, you got your podcast, you've authored some books. What do you do for fun?
So a couple things. Two, or the first one would be, I love exercising. I love doing Olympic lifting, like the clean and jerk and the snatch. Like I really enjoy doing that. But the other big thing I do, two other big things, is I love hunting. I love hunting because it brings meat home for the family. Obviously, the hunting itself is tremendous fun. But if I don't bring meat home to my family, my wife is like, so how much do you spend not bringing money home or bringing meat home or bringing food home for the family? I'm like, oh, that's sorry, babe. So that's another one. But the last thing is probably one of my top ones. I love to travel. I love getting outside and doing things. Like I said, we travel all the time. And so our next trip is going to be to Washington, D.C. and all over there. But in 2020, we're going to go to Italy and travel for 4 weeks and travel all around Italy, from top to bottom. Now, we would normally do 6 weeks, but 6 weeks is a long time to travel, especially with 4 kids. After about the 4th week, I'm like, oh, this is so tiring. I just want to get back to normal routine of life. And so traveling is one of the biggest things that we all love together.
Yeah, we definitely share that. So, definitely if there's a dual listener listening or fly on the wall and they're like, oh my goodness, I like this Dustin guy. I want to connect with Dustin. I want to learn more about Dustin, or maybe even, get Dustin to be my coach. How can people reach out to you? How can people, connect with you?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you asking. So masterpassiveincome.com is my website. I also have a podcast, Master Passive Income Podcast. You can listen to me there, but everything is in masterpassiveincome.com. Obviously, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, all that sort of stuff, but go to masterpassiveincome.com. You can find me there, reach out to me. You can see everything that I put out there. Everything that I do normally goes in there. Even all of my travels that I do, I put them on there. Like all of our trips through all over the different countries in Europe. I had England, Scotland, Ireland. We went to France, Switzerland. We went all over. But I put pictures from all those just because you get some real estate gurus. I'm definitely not a guru. I'm more of a coach. I love helping people. This is why I do it, because I love helping people. But so last, to sum it up, is a lot of gurus, they take pictures in front of like Lamborghinis or Porsches or some crazy expensive thing. Well, that's great. That's good for them. I never gravitated toward the gurus that did that. Like I was like, oh, good for you. But when I saw people traveling, that's what I love. And so I have all my pictures out there. So anyways, masterpassiveincome.com. I'd love to reach out to you. If you need any help, I'd love to help you out.
Thank you so much, Dustin. I mean, it's just been an amazing show. We've just really connected on so many levels. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'm sure there'll be a part 2 of this sometime in the nearest future. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Ola. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.